Hey there, welcome to another Friday Night Watch Talk. I am your host, Bobby Legs, and this evening I am joined in by my friend Sam from Casual Watch Reviews. I hope you guys all had a great week this week. Let's talk about some watches. Sam, how you doing? What do you have on wrist? Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, I'm all good. Actually, I didn't swap out a watch for this. I've been wearing my metal square G-Shock
Oh, very
today.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this is a real just I don't know, just a grab and go watch. I also sold off quite a few watches as well, so
Ooh,
this is one of
ooh.
about six I have left.
All right, well, we'll go into that as well. Hey, I used to have like the bling master, the gold tone version of that watch that you have on there. And yeah, I mean, great watch, a little blingy, right? I mean, it's blingy. That one is not as blingy. It's toned down, it's cleaner. I love those metal G-Shocks. I really did. I had the Tron, right? Remember the Tron when that came out?
Oh yeah,
And just great watches. But I got I kind of I got the titanium soon after, and I'm like, ooh, the titanium, it's almost the same look, so much lighter, and it's such a great watch.
oh right. So which titan? It wasn't a titanium aftermarket case. It was the is
No,
it the
no,
one
no,
with a lot of text on it?
no, not that. So I had the Tron. Okay, so I had the Tron and loved it, loved the look of it, and loved the metal G-Shock, the fact that, and then I picked up the full titanium square, the one that's like MSRP for like 1,700, but I didn't pay that much. Anyway, they had what's called the stealth wealth, right? One, so it's all black, right? It looks like almost
Yeah.
like your metal G, metal square, or even a resin almost kind of, but it's light, it's feather light, and so just so nice. And then I had the one that had the digi camo, the black digi camo, and which my Mrs. Legs confiscated. And so I'm spoiled, and I had gone back to the metal the metal square with the bling master, and yes, it was blingy, but then it didn't replace that titanium piece that I had. You know what I mean? So that's why the titanium kind of spoiled me for that. Even though I love those metal squares, the titanium one is just oof, so much. If you could find one for like sub 1,000, like in the like $900 range, go for it. And it's in good condition, go for it because you'll be
Yeah.
spoiled. You'll be spoiled. It's like
Yeah.
going to flying first class, going to coach, and then you know what I mean. It's never the same again, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally get it. I'm also really interested to see one of those, the ones that are like $3,500 or the $4,000
Yeah.
square. Just want to see one in hand, just to see
Hmm.
how good could they possibly be. Have you ever handled one?
I've never had one in hand. But so tempted. Was it
Mm,
MRGs, or is that what it is? A
yeah,
square MRG? Yeah. I think there might be some guys on the chat who've had it and who could chime in and let us know. But I'm also curious because, like, it's one of these things where, like, your mind is trained, right? To expect an affordable G-Shock, a square, a couple $100, and
yeah,
so when you buy something that's like in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, right? Like, does that compute? I mean, like, you know what I mean? Does it play tricks on you? I don't know. You know, I don't know.
yeah. Like how much better could it be? Like
How
how can they step it up so much to
right.
get that price point?
Right. And then like I start going and thinking about, like, what other watches are out there that are worth the same. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
Mm.
man, is this like a right place to put my money in? You know what I mean? So it's a loaded proposition for sure. Hey, okay, so you got that one. I have my Black Bay 58, the
Oh, yeah.
Uncle Straps. I had to stop myself from saying Uncle Seiko. Uncle Straps, Jubilee. Great. I can't wait. I can't wait though until the fall where I can put back the leather strap on it, and because I think that's where it really shines with a leather strap, brown leather strap on that watch. Have you ever had a 58 before?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I bought one in Las Vegas actually. Bought that one, the Black Bay 58 in Las Vegas. That color scheme. I bought it on the NATO, and at the time, I wanted it on the bracelet, and then when they sold it me, they were like, "Oh, well, you can buy the bracelet aftermarket." And I did phone up and ask for the bracelet aftermarket, and it was something like $750, which for a watch was 3,200. So that's like a significant ball.
It was, yeah.
I did end up selling it, but it annoyed me about the bracelet a little bit. But I don't know. I've got a real thing about watches with the date on them, and I just couldn't. A58 was the one that would convince me, or dive watches, and it didn't in the end. But it's a great watch.
Oh, so that's it. So it was the date. Now I recall you do have a thing with the date, but I would think because you have a bigger wrist than I do, right? I mean, I think you're over 7 inches on your wrist.
Yeah, a little bit like 7.2. Yeah.
So was the watch? Did the watch feel small on your wrist?
No.
Okay.
I had it on it came on that NATO, which that NATO, I mean, they talk all about it being weaved on tapestry machines or something ridiculous. That should be free with the watch. There shouldn't have been an option where that was the only option.
Yeah.
But I added a rubber strap on it that I got from Vanguard. Vanguard watch straps. And it fit it really well. So I ended up wearing it on that. And I did actually buy an aftermarket a strap code metal bracelet for it, but it was when they first released it, and I don't think they quite got the design right, and it ended up rubbing a little bit of the corner off the inside. But
hey, let's say hello to the chat first before we talk about something that you just picked up recently. Bill K is here. How you doing, Bill? Rick is here. How you doing, Rick? Mason 1 is here. How are you? FP Wilson, what's going on, my friend? James is here. Steve Timell is here. Hey, Detroit Spartan, what is up? Underachieving watch collector, hello, how are you? Hey, Detroit Spartan, just got done watching the 39mm, 40mm Explorer comparison video. Now I want a 40mm. Okay, all right. Hey, James is here. What's going on? How you doing? Way Ben, good to see you. And Keith, good to see you as well. Peter C is here. Hey, Jody is here. How you doing, Jody? Thomas Burnett, what's up, Thomas? Good to see you, bud. Good to see you. Hingle McCringleberry. All right, that's a good one. MRG Square is awesome. Cool. He owns the MRG Square and loves it. Worth every. Okay, cool. I would still love to get one in hand. But Peter is like, $3,000 G-Shock doesn't compute. I'm sure it's worth every penny. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like it's a mental thing with me, right? Because I'm so used to, more affordables. Chrono Craze. I saw Random Rob's MRG Square at the San Francisco windup in 2022. It looks and feels really nice in person. You can tell there is a premium difference over the standard metal ones. Okay, fair enough. Hey, Caliber is here. How you doing, Caliber? Thomas is wearing his P01. Have you ever tried on a P01?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, I've seen one in store. It's I've got a friend who runs the Tudor boutique I live in Orlando, and he let me hold one. Yeah, it's a really cool watch. I wish it was one of those where I wish I liked it more, because it's like that kind of quirky watch that I really like, but it just something didn't gel with me. But the bezel thing is really cool. The bezel locking system.
Yeah. I think what's odd for me is the strap. How
that's for me.
Yeah. So but it is a cool watch. I feel like and Thomas, it's a great watch, but for me, it just I don't know, the case. There was something that didn't jive for me as well, but I could see the appeal. There's a huge appeal for that watch.
Yeah.
It didn't a lot of hype. Didn't I think initially sell as well, but and they stopped making it, but I could see how one of these days it'll be very, very collectible. That's just my guess.
I think I totally agree with you. I think it's going to be one of those, a couple of years, people are like, wow, have you seen this Tudor P01?
Yeah. Justin is strapped in. Hey, sympathy for the bezel. I need a date on my watches. Okay. Um, James is wearing his Longines Big Eye. No date. Like my social life. uh, all right. Hey, Chris J, all the way from Canada. How are you? Um, let's see. P01 is great. Um, okay. People liking that P01. Yeah, you're right there too. Okay. Just jumped in on there, Justin. Not really sure. You're probably talking to somebody else. Anyway, so Sam, you picked something up recently.
Yeah.
We want to share with us what you got?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've had a pretty interesting week of watch reviews. I borrowed a watch from Citizen, which was the bullhead, their
Oh
reissued
yeah.
Suno bullhead, the gold one. I don't know if
Mm,
you've seen it. It's
hmm.
wild, and it comes in a gold Pelican box. And then I also got to review the new Christopher Ward, the GMT, but with this blue, almost electric. I called it electric teal, but they call it dragonfly blue dial. It was awesome in person.
Yeah.
So I had quite a so that was on the positive side of this week. On a slightly weird note, I became obsessed with the last time I was on, I think I was talking about my Japan trip. I became
Yep.
obsessed with Grand Seiko. So I've been saving and saving and saving. And I pulled the trigger on a Grand Seiko. Um, so
Let's see it, man. I mean,
yeah. So
I'll
this
do a
is the
solo layout.
so this is I forget the reference, but
There's so many.
it's essentially it's the green version with the
Yep.
ceramic bezel, and it's a spring drive version, ceramic bezel with
GMT,
on
right?
there. Yep, GMT. It's got the GMT
Hmm.
handies. It's sort of a goldy color. Let me just see if I
Yeah.
can get it a bit more. And yeah, so it's got a huge date on it. Textbook, everything. Everything I wanted. I wanted spring drive. I wanted a GMT. I've got a big thing for green,
Hmm.
and I received it the other day, and I don't like it.
Oh no.
Yeah. Have you ever had that happen where you've just lusted after a watch so much, and then when you actually got it?
I'm sure. Nothing is coming to mind, but I'm sure I have. I'm for sure I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I needed time to think about that one. Maybe it'll come up. But so what happened? What's going
Right.
on?
I'm going to try and explain this without me sounding crazy, but I'm probably not going to be able to do it. The
Okay.
problem with it is that on this, on the wrist, these are actually quite heavy. And the problem with it is Seiko do an amazing job of balancing their cases. For their bigger watches, usually the balance is really really good. So if you see this next to the Sumo looks monstrous in comparison to it,
Yeah.
but this feels a lot heavier on the wrist, even though the Sumo is thicker. And it essentially, what I've put it down to is if I wear it on the wrist, I'll try and hold it up to the camera. If I do that, it kind of just slumps forwards,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
really. So I think what it is that excuse me, the balance, it's top heavy, and whereas the Sumo, I'll try and demonstrate this. The
Yeah.
Sumo doesn't slide down your wrist.
Yeah.
They've both got some slack in the bracelet, but because it's got the center of gravity to the back, it doesn't like it. I liken it to that when you watch that tractor pulling on TV, where the tractor's pulling it, and then all of a sudden the weight goes whoomp to the front,
Yeah.
exactly like that. And it sounds crazy, but I just cannot. I just can't get used to it.
Oh
So
no.
unfortunately, because I'd slightly scratched the back of when I was changing out the lugs, I'd slightly scratched the back of the lugs.
Oh
So the guy
no.
I bought it pre-owned, and he won't. I was honest with him. I said, yeah, there's a little bit of so he won't take it back on Chrono. So unfortunately, I might be taking a bit of a bath on it. But if anybody's interested in a good deal on a spring drive, it's on eBay at the moment.
But I mean, do you think you could put like a strap? I mean, is there any way to salvage? No.
This was my week of trying it on leather straps for a day, trying it on rubber strap for a day. I've even got a beautiful bun strap that Nicola over at Man Cave Leather wore for me. So I had it on the bun, thinking that the back leather plate would balance it out. But it's just really. This is totally personal preference. I'm sure other people own this watch and they love the weight of it. I think just the size of my wrist, and because I was expecting it to be balanced like the Sumo. But the Turtle's the same, the SKX, they do such a good job of putting the weight at the back of the watch, Seiko. It's just for some reason that it's just not like that. I've had it happen once before with a Squale watch or a Squall watch. But yeah, I hate myself for it because I got a good deal on it. It's everything I wanted. It's a spring drive. Because I was going for a quartz GMT, and I thought Dave at Scottish Watches was like, the green looks awesome in person, and he's totally right. It looks incredible. It looks incredible in person. But yeah, so I've been hating myself all week.
I'm so sorry, Sam. I'm so sorry. No. Wilson says uncongrats. Uncongrats. Yeah. He said congrats, but now he took it back. Sorry, buddy.
No.
Man. Evening, KR Joy. How are you? Hey, Keith's got a question, Sam. Are you releasing a review on the CW Dragonfly now?
Keith, what a great question. Thank you. I didn't plan that. I don't. Yes. So tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, I'll be releasing a review on the Dragonfly. I also, if you're Christopher Ward fans, not to plug my own stuff on your channel, Bobby, but I interviewed Mike France this morning, and usually I release, if I do interview Mike France, I usually release like the full interview in one go. But there's so much that the information that comes from these interviews. I'm going to split this one up into 3. So there'll be a new watch release. I ask him a lot about the damage that happened to the Salita factory and whether that's impacting the Swiss watch industry and whether it's impacting Christopher Ward. And then the third video will be around the Bel Canto. So I asked him questions that people have been asking on my live stream or asking in about that they've ordered the Bel Canto. There's been sort of delays if you pre-ordered them or around the timelines and stuff like that. So I asked him a lot of questions, and he explains everything about it on that video. So if you're
that's great. Looking forward to that. And guys, if you're not subscribed to Sam's channel, I have a link in the description below if you want, and all these updates from Christopher Ward. Thank you, Sam. All GSs feel like that for him, so he's got that problem with a lot of them.
It is weird. I tried on a few in Japan actually, and I think a few people are asking, did I get a chance to try one on first? No, I know one. I know one Seiko. It's really weird. I know a Seiko, Grand Seiko AD really well. Actually, a great watch store locally here, but I feel really bad about, because I knew I wanted to buy a pre-owned one. And I just can't go in and try it on in there and then buy it kind of pre-owned. I feel really shady about doing it. So, but this one, I think this is I think maybe discontinued. There might be people that know better than me, but I believe this one is a discontinued model anyway. So,
Dib is causing trouble in the chat, so I'm gonna ignore what Dib is saying. Busting chops. Anyway, let's see here. I mean, hopefully you don't take that much of a hit on that, really. James saying we call it Seiko magic, not Grand Seiko magic. Yeah, so I mean, maybe to your point, like, Seiko's figured it out. How come the Grand Seiko hasn't,
No.
People thanks I'm sorry. James saying, did you ask why CW didn't offer a free strap or a small discount for the Bel Canto Lele? The lack of any recompense or goodwill gesture is telling.
Well, I think what Mike's doing is he's keeping everyone up to date on email. He's instructed his team to keep everyone up to date, and not to give too much away about it, but to give too much about it, but the reason it's delayed is so that they can get it right the first time, you know, so they can get they've had some. I cover it in the video, but
Yeah.
he feels very passionately about, very grateful for the people that have waited for it, but also
Yeah.
feels very passionately about it, that when they do arrive, they have to be everything that we've seen in that first model, everything that we've seen already, the quality and everything. So
Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to, you know, obviously you give up too much tonight, because you are releasing that, but it just seems like, look, they announced the Bel Canto at some point last year. I got to saw one in hand and wind up like on the down low, um, and um, and then so they sell it very quickly, and then they have uh release like a different color. I think they released it. It was a green,
yeah, there is the green. Yeah,
and then they start coming out with all these different colors. Like it seems like they hit pay dirt and they wanted to ride it while it's hot, right? And just put out as many. Maybe that wasn't a good strategy then, right? Maybe maybe they bit off too much they can chew.
yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I didn't ask him directly that, but I have asked him that in the past. But if you remember that before the Bel Canto, Christopher Ward had released the previous diver that they released, and somebody will know the reference. They released with their in-house movement, and they had it made to it had a skeleton dial. They had it made to. They had 3 different craftspeople working on making this, and they released it, and it sold okay, but nowhere near the frenzy of
Yeah.
the Bel Canto. They've released 2 in-house movement watches this year. One that had like a snow leopard dial, and then another one that was an ocean dial. They did okay, but
Yeah.
nothing like the Bel Canto. So I think they released the blue, and then that was going to be it for a while, and then as soon as that sold out, they were like, okay, well, there's actually this green one that we had queued up, and then that sold out, and then I think it kind of forced their hand. But they're so passionate about quality, and I'll give one example, because there's a lot in this video, but I'll give a few things away. One of the things is that with the Bel Canto, Mike's very concerned about the fact that the quality of the dial, the way the dial looks.
Yeah.
So apparently in the Swiss watch industry, there's like a 30 centimeter eye line. So the quality check is if you can't see anything visible 30 centimeters from the watch, then it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But he's insisted that the manufacturers that are manufacturing the dial actually use microscopes or high quality lenses to actually look at the dial deeply. So they're going through a lot of additional processes, so that because they have to get this right. I mean, they have to get these Bel Cantos right because it's done so well. There's a lot of people that have pre-ordered them. So
yeah,
I think I can totally see his point of view, but you're right. I think it did. I think probably Mike would admit that it definitely took them by surprise.
Yeah,
how fast they sold out, and it's funny because I have a friend who at work who bought the Bel Canto, the original Bel Canto, the blue one, and he actually put it up for sale in a local AD, and he was asked. They estimated that they would ask on consignment $10,000 for it. And somebody offered him $7,000, which is $7,500, which is double what the price was.
Right.
And he actually decided he would keep it because to him, he felt it was the equivalent of a $7,000 watch, even though he didn't pay that for it. He felt that it was worth that. So, but
wow, yeah,
one off, yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think I was intrigued by it. I have to admit. When I first saw it, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, I mean, it good for Christopher Ward to. I mean, I know this is all news chat, but I mean, good for Christopher Ward for trying something so bold and at a relatively affordable price for what it is. But like I think I was like, I want to take a wait and see about this. You know what I mean? And see how it progresses, and if it's something that that they'll keep on making. And but it's an impressive piece, for a brand that maybe not too far long ago was probably considered, or maybe still even considered, like a micro brand, even though I don't really feel like they are. That definition is very blurry, right? So
Yeah,
um,
they would say they were like a British independent, same as
yeah,
Nicholas
yeah.
Diaz says he's
Right, and even so, like, just like being like a larger
mm,
independent. I mean, like, it's still pretty impressive what they're doing. But anyway, look, I just wish them the best, because they're taking chances, right? Um, I think a lot of the gripe that I have with a lot of brands, and especially some of these independents or micro brands, is that there's no risk taking. Even the big brands are not doing any risk taking. It's like, it's like movies, right? I mean, I feel like there's the same 10 movies every year, and they're rewriting the stories, right? They're
yeah,
rewriting the stories. How many iterations of Batman are there? Even though we're watching a new one. Halfway through, I fell asleep, but I mean, it's just because I was tired. But it's good. But they're rewriting the same Spider-Man.
yeah.
How many times are we gonna do Spider-Man? So that's what I feel like is going on with watching the watch industry. You know?
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And as well, I don't know if anybody's in the chat. I think Dib's trying to push a few buttons about the Belcanto, but in the chat. But he if they didn't take a complete, they didn't completely recreate the Belcanto. So anybody who's got it on pre-order, you're not the guinea pig for a new movement system. You're the guinea pig, because they'd actually developed, Christopher Ward had actually developed that movement for a watch that is made by Meistersinger called the
Mm,
Bellora. So the
mhm.
movement and everything is a tried and tested chiming mechanism. It's just what they did is they moved all of the good looking components above the dial,
Yeah.
and that's where the finishing is, that they're working on the finishing. So I sound like a work for Christopher Ward. They've sent me one water bottle and a notepad in all the time that I've ever
Yeah.
worked for them. I
No, no,
never, work
it's
or
it's all
whatever
good.
usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's not the they're just making sure that they're getting the process right. It's not that people who are getting the Belcanto, they're like a guinea pig for a new movement system. Perhaps
Mhm.
when other brands have released like an in-house movement and everyone's like, oh, like even Tudor had that, didn't they, with their first GMT movement in-house. There was the date issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's just that they want to get the quality of finish right, or at least that's what Mike's saying in this
Yeah.
this video, that they want to get the quality right. So.
Fair enough. Kadra is celebrating getting through first week of new job with his favorite comfort watch, the Air King. Very nice.
Okay, cool.
Congratulations, KR.
Yeah, congratulations.
Hey, Ken Spears here. How you doing? Did own a Belcanto for a hot
Okay.
minute. James, I found the CW email about the delay lacking contrition, and even a nominal gesture would have gone a long way. Um, I hear you, James.
Yeah, I hear you as well, James. I could definitely, I email Mike pretty regularly, so I can definitely, you know, pass it
Yeah.
on for what it's worth.
Okay. Hey, so let's move on here. Let's talk about some new stuff that has come out. And Chad, if you have any questions for Sam and I, we would love to answer those. But look, hey, Thomas, 10
Yay!
months for being a member. Really appreciate it, Thomas. Uh, we give away watches also on the Bobby Legs YouTube group, and other swag for on a almost monthly basis. I'm getting better with that. But yeah, and we have a nice little community on the Discord too.
Yeah.
So come and join for a very small fee. Anyway, let's talk about some new releases, right? Let's see what's going on here. Let me just share my screen. Um, there's a couple of them that caught my eye this week. But yeah, I don't know. Do you now that you're Mr. Grand Seiko, we got some new U.S. exclusive dials here for the 44GS spring drive case. Any thoughts on these? These kind of look interesting, right?
Yeah, they do really look interesting, don't they? Especially that green one looks beautiful, doesn't it? I'm not sure about how prominent the 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 gauge will be with that slightly different color, but they do look beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta tell you, the red one reminds me a little bit of that Eye of Sauron that from Glashütte, the 1960s
Oh yeah,
version of it. Just a little bit like that, right? But very, very interesting texture on the dial. The G44 GS case is beautiful. It's so well done. Highly polished. Is this the green or is this the black? I can't tell. But looks good. Oh, that's the green. That's definitely green. I like the contrast with the gold tone though. It's very, very nice. Good looking pieces. Let's see here. What are they running? Oh, these are limited, right? The one is limited. The other ones are permanent collection. 5,600 and 6,000. 6,000 for the limited. Yeah, I mean, right up on, right where they
yeah,
are
yeah.
typically priced, right? I mean, nothing too outrageous with the price. Unfortunately, the knock with Grand Seiko in a few months, these will be, like 30-40% off their MSRP in a secondary. They just take a real big hit. 8 Wayband saying that SBGA 493 has me in an instant lust and FOMO. Very, very nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen these actually, but what is there a significance with the samurai sword? Is it celebrating some Japanese
Oh,
festival or something?
is that where that's? I
No,
mean, I
just
have
I was
heard.
just wondering. I haven't actually seen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at these straight away, but I wondered what the samurai sword was there for. But,
It's whether it's culture of landscapes or artistry.
oh,
Many
it's the
Grand Seikos.
artistry of the katana.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, it's cool. Hey, Siobhan's here. How you doing? The red looks very cool. First time in a while, GS releases a worthy watch to pursue at the price. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Hey, I want to take a look. I might be jumping over a couple quickly, but I want to talk about this Garrick watch. And whoops, I clicked on Garrick and I got the Parmigiani. I like Garrick. Okay, I've been kind of following that brand for a while. Went through a phase with several other of my watch friends where we were obsessed with Guilloche, right?
Hmm.
Went through the Guilloche era, and Garrick was one of those that independents that popped up in the search for finding affordable Guilloche dialed watches, or I use quote unquote affordable. They're not so affordable for most of us, but I think this is a beauty. I believe this is an in-house movement. It's got a moon phase in it. It's hella pricey though. I mean, at 20,000 pounds, man, there's a lot at 25,000 bucks. I mean, there's a lot of competition, right? At this, like
Yeah,
yeah, right. But
that
it's
dial
a
though, that
beauty.
center dial is it. That's like that must be an optical illusion, mustn't it? The way they've done that, but that looks
Yeah,
incredible. The sort of ruffled pattern.
yeah. The Guilloche is impressive. The blue dial looks as beautiful.
Oh yeah,
Although I prefer the other version because I like the contrast of that gold coppery look against the moon phase. But just gorgeous pieces. The case back is okay. I mean, nothing crazy here. I've seen some other um, models of the Garrick with some more interesting case back. I'm sure you can get some additional work done for an additional price. Um, but the dial on the Garrix is always the star of the show. Again, 20,000 pounds.
yeah.
A
That
lot, man.
Fears one, that Garrett. It's not a brand that I normally look that deeply into, but when they did that Fears limited edition or the collab, I thought that was stunning. Yeah.
Yeah. John is saying the Garrick at least has a better hands now, and the movement doesn't look like it has. Okay. Yeah. No, the hands on the Garrick, right? The typical hands, just like a hand, and then they had like that kind of like semicircle at the counter, or whatever that was. And at first, like, I was like, "Ugh," but I kind of grew to like them. But no, John, good point. The hands are an improvement here. James is saying, are we going to find out that katana is also the name of some lake during an obscure micro season in Japan? Man. Hey, listen, I mean, Grand Seiko has rode that very, very well, I guess. Thomas is saying that he really likes the Garrick. Some of their watches are quite affordable, but the in-house ones are pretty pricey. Beautiful watches. All right, Dib. I don't know, Dib. You've been driving all day. What's going? The Garrick dial looks like a splatter caused. I bet, Dib. I think you're probably the only one who feels that way on the chat. I think we all kind of like it. We all like it. Maybe not the price, but we like it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Um, Look, I I know this is limited. I know this is like super pricey. It's just a different metal. I mean, I think this is all white gold here, but I just love the look of this watch. What are your thoughts on Glashütte, Sam?
I, I really like them. Yeah. I don't know whether I've not gone through a phase yet where I gravitate towards these more classically looking
Okay.
watches like this.
Yeah.
I'm still in a well, I always kind of, I guess I have been in a very tool watch phase or sports watch phase.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a time where I probably will really like these. I know Pete from Pete McConville channel.
Yeah.
He just recently bought an Ulysse Nardin, which isn't far off actually that, but in rose gold. And
Yeah.
he was traditionally very much a tool watch person, and he's really changed his mind. So maybe I need to. I mean, maybe I need to give one a go, but obviously probably at a more affordable price point. But it is beautiful. That movement's absolutely stunning.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is like close to 40. Let's see here. Yeah. So it's 32.3 US, 35 euro. That's interesting.
Yeah, my boss, one of the guys that I work with, one of the bosses at my place, he swapped in his Milgauss and bought this CQ
Yeah.
one, the CQ, and seeing that in person is incredible. It's an incredible watch. It has the larger date, the two-part date at the bottom, and I was impressed seeing one in person. It's the first one I'd ever seen in person. I know that's it's the dive watch style instead of something like this, but yeah, the sort of stealth wealth aspect of the CQ is really cool.
I mean, you don't see too many people wearing Glashüttes. Not anyway. I don't, and that watch in particular, I've never seen that in the wild. But it is a fairly big size. So I mean, like I would love to try it on and see, because it is a 43 millimeter diameter, and it is a big watch, even lug to lug. So yeah, I mean, that's the one to go for. I mean, the other CQs, the smaller ones with the date window on the 3, don't really do it so much for me. But that one, the one with the big date, oof, that's a beautiful watch. They do these big dates here. Glashütte, like I feel like there's very few who can compete with them. Not even Longa. I mean, I think Glashütte, they do such a better job executing that, especially keeping the discs on the same plane. Longa, it's like one is above the other one. So that's a much more, from what I understand, keeping the same plane, a much more difficult proposition for them than having it in different planes.
Yeah, because Federico, I remember Federico did a video years, a couple of years ago now, and it was something called like the worst complication you can have on a watch, and he was actually talking about the double date, and it wasn't the worst. It was just that it apparently they go wrong on a lot of other brands. I think they don't quite line up, do they? And it's quite hard to fix. But if Glashütte fixed that, then
yeah. Glashütte. I always Wolfgang always makes fun of me. It's Glashütte. I always forget it. Glashütte. I'm sure he's gonna comment that I butchered it when he sees this in the morning. James, I dig Geo, but their movements and cases are thick. I normally like, and I normally like, okay. Geo's beautiful. The Geo Senator I have in my eye on is the Cosmopolite. But I have a lot of saving up to do for that one. That is a nice one. I like Geo as a company. The dial on the Senator puts me off with the sub dials at the top and the bottom. Yeah, it's I think a matter of choice, right? And taste. I hear that. Um, Wait a minute, I really wanted to like Glashütte, but the Pano Lunar wore like a yeah. So the Pano Lunar is thick. The Pano Reserve is thinner because it's a manual movement. You do lose the moon phase, but you gain the power reserve, and pretty much everything else is the same. So yeah, I mean, I would go Pano reverse over the Pano lunar. But the moon phase on the lunar is small anyway. You got to go big with the moon phase. It's got to go big. Um, the Geo
Look
will
that up.
be. What was that?
Sorry, I was just looking up the one you mentioned. It's the Pano reverse, so it's like very much like a Lango, isn't it? Lango's.
Like yeah, like a Longa one, I think. The Geo will be available half off in 6 months and will be still be too much. Looks better than prior watches. Uh, Delrays have some CQs. They sure do. Um, Geo has a great a great window shopping watch. Very few actually buy one. Hmm. hmm Go While Decent is not in the same league as Longa. Okay. Okay. Federico was talking about a particular big date movement, not the Geo, though. He wasn't talking about big dates in general. Okay.
Right.
Um, say the at the end because use 3 syllables. Oh, okay. He's trying to help me. Okay. Say the at the end of okay. Glashütte. Glashütte.
Glashütte.
Uh, uh, Pierce getting a little philosophical here, but honestly, I just find it hard to justify buying a dress watch in this postcode. Yeah, I mean, if you're referring to people like not going into the office as much or working from home, then you have a good point there. I just yeah, at the end of the day, look, my favorite style watches are the dress watches. I just love how beautiful they are. Um, I don't end up buying many of them because I just don't have a need for them, um, and so I go with the more tooly and sporty looking watches because that's the lifestyle. Um, I'm good with the Odysseus date, but it's dangerous game playing around with it. Mm. James said I wore a dress watch while working from home in my boxers. The new normal is good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, James. Um, okay. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Hey, Tissot, using some inspiration and going with a the Chronometra, the collection here. The is it the Chronometra watches and Heritage in the small seconds? Um, yeah, I mean it's okay, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like it. That one's reminding me of the new. Is it Longines? I think we talked about it on ours that did
mm,
the salmon dial, but with the engraved numbers on it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, sort of reminds me of that as well.
That
Different
looks a bit
colors.
like a micro brand one, doesn't it? It looks like something that a micro brand would come out with.
Sure, I think you got something there. This one's
I
not
like
so
that one.
bad with the small seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
it has the date,
Nice.
right? You like the date, you know?
Yep, it's gonna have to date.
Um, I mean, it just doesn't move me too much.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'll sell well. Because it's got that classic look, and I feel like those watches. And I know Pete put out a video about some trends that are here to stay, and he made a second video talking about neo vintage, and this may be more to the vintage side as opposed to neo vintage because this is directly inspired by a previous Tissot. But I think this kind of look is here to stay, and so I think these usually will sell well. You know.
Yeah, Pete caused a bit of quite a stir on my last on our Tuesday live stream. He made
Oh, what
some.
did he do? What did he do?
He we were reviewing the Hodinkee talking watches with Adam Levine, where
Oh, yeah.
he showed. I don't know if you've talked about it yet, but he showed off some Daytonas, and there was Periscope and a few other people pointed out that perhaps not all the parts are original to Rolex. And then Pete's argument was like, who cares? He says, well, the classic cars, they're much better if you put modern parts in. So obviously stirred up a lot of people in the comments were like, well, you have to have it all original, or you have to have, if you're showing it, should Hodinkee have said, hey, this is an example of a Daytona, perhaps not all the parts are original to this model. Did you see that? Did you pick up on the controversy?
I did not watch the video. And I probably should, because people have been talking about it. I just I don't know. Adam Levine, it just doesn't. I'm like another this guy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's just a terrible attitude to have. I should watch it just to be informed, right? But I heard a little bit about it, and you explained pretty much what I heard. But yeah, I don't know. Sam.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I think I get the only bit that I had to offer was I feel like Hodinkee should have said, they.
Oh yeah, for sure, right?
Not to call him out, but if they're supposed to be educating educating people about watches, they should have been like, oh, this is a great example of this, but it looks like you've had some work done aftermarket on it.
Or maybe not put out that video. You know what I mean? Talk to the guy afterwards and be like, hey, listen, we didn't realize, and now, or maybe they did, and maybe he was like, I don't care.
Yeah, and maybe they should have said that. But yeah, and I mean, at least it was, Ben Hodinkee's getting a lot better at interviewing people now. I remember when he was first interviewing people, the first John Mayer interview, he was awful. He was so wooden. Yeah. And I don't know if he was starstruck or something, but there's other times where he's interviewed people and he looks completely disinterested in what they're doing. It was. I mean, at least it was a bit of something to talk about, other than the drama on the grey market the previous weeks.
Yeah. Tissot is definitely following Longines Heritage reissue playbook, just a few years behind. Yeah, that's a good point, James. Hey, but it works, right? I mean, I guess Tissot's like, okay, it works for Longines, maybe it works for, and I think it will, or if it hasn't. Tib is so he must have had some spicy peppers today. Tissot, where watch dreams go to die. I think Tissot sells a lot of watches, Deb. They sell a whole lot of watches.
That Sidril or whatever they bought out, that was a fun sort of summer edition, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
With the carbon case.
Pete, poster boy. Okay. Hodinkee, educating people. Okay. Oh, man. Ben Clymer told Adam Levine the pushers were fake on his Paul Newman, and Adam called him a nerd and kicked him out of his house. Okay. I don't know if that really happened. Oh, it's funny. Ben Clymer is living a life, counting his money, playing golf, and showing up for celebrity interviews. Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you want to just talk about TBG real quick? Do you want to, because like we haven't really talked about this. And maybe just have like a few minutes of it, and then we'll just put it to. Well, I'll put it to rest. So what do you think? I mean, like, what are your thoughts on him as a person and channel, and then whatever kind of effects it has, on the gray market, if it does,
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think what when he first came out onto the scene, I suppose, onto the watch scene, they really were. I suppose it's easy to look back and kind of scoff at that kind of bling lifestyle. But when they first came out, they really were doing like a Netflix style show. And I remember because my wife Helen, she would watch it with me. She would watch each week these sort of, and then they definitely got a little bit more opulent and they were showing off a little bit more. But at the start, it seemed like they were really onto something.
Yeah.
It was kind of seeing the hustle, and you could argue, would any of these other channels exist if it wasn't for him kind of starting that momentum on it? They probably would. I mean, Roman's so charismatic, he probably would have started, but there's other ones that spun up around it. But yeah, I think when they did that first media blackout, I think that was a really bad mistake that they did there, really bad, because that set them off on a spiral, and also it encouraged a lot of people who, because there's definitely, the watch community has, like everyone in the chat, big, massive watch fans, but there's also people that watch content to either aspire to owning Rolex, but I think there's also people that think, well, people that own a lot of Rolexes must have got them through nefarious means, or that how did they get their money, that type of thing, that kind of. And I think he set those people on them, but he underestimated how clever those people were at outmaneuvering him. So it seemed like everything he did after that, people were holding him to task, because he tried to point the finger back at the watch community, accusing everyone of like, oh, well, nobody was supporting us anyway. I think that set off a spiral, but it seemed like he got on his feet a little bit. They separated off. I mean, he's still got that charismatic salesman ship about him, so it was interesting. And then when he moved to LA and he rented that apartment, that seemed over the top. And then when he got robbed the first time, something was a little bit fishy about that. And I kind of I actually reached out to him. I was joking with somebody on my live chat. I reached out to him to ask him for an interview, and he was going to come on, but then I kind of got cold feet about it. Just got like a funny feeling. And I'd actually reached out to somebody else who is in a completely different YouTube community, but is quite a big YouTuber. But I always watch. He always has watches on his stream, and I'd reached out to him to ask for an interview. It turns out that he was a up to no good, this other guy, and also obviously Anthony now was so kind of felt like I dodged a bullet there. But I don't know. I just feel like he kind of lived up to it. All these people were, a lot of people accusing him of stuff, and he ended up. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, wasn't it? But what was your opinion on it?
I feel like we're just watching the demise of a human being, and it's kind of like, even talking about it, and it kind of like, doesn't make me feel right. You know what I mean? Like I feel incredible sadness for him. I know a lot of people are like, well, there you go. I mean, he deserves everything that he gets. He's a criminal, addict and whatnot, and they're tired of talking about it. And I'm tired of talking about it too. But I don't know. Like, I guess I'm not, because I'm talking about it now. But I don't know. I just feel very, very sad for him. I just want him to get his life together, and find a way. And then look, this lifestyle that he's living is not going to help him. It's people, places, and things, right? And so, like, the more he surrounds himself, or keeps surrounding himself with this hustle, with these, alcohol, drugs, or whatever he's in, is around him, fast cars, it's just not good for him. He's gonna end up dead. He's gonna end up dead in a year or two.
I actually totally agree with you. I gave up drinking like 7 or 8 years ago, and which coming from the UK, where we're a big drinking, when I moved over to the US, actually, because but you're right, he doesn't remind me, but he's got a personality where they needed a strong CEO that would keep him on, that give him the space that he needed, but also keep him on a tight leash. They needed like a real business person to run the Timepiece Gentleman, like a real somebody that Anthony respected, but he could keep Anthony. I worked in sales for years and years, for like 10 years, and you always saw this cycle of the top salesperson, they would be like, "Oh, well, congratulations, you're so good. Like, you can be the sales manager now because you can train everybody else on like how good you are." And
Yeah.
and very rare does a top performing salesperson ever make a good sales manager, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the same with Anthony. I don't think he should have been running the business. He should have been the face of it. He should have been doing the deals. But
Yeah.
then there should have been somebody that kept a super, and that wasn't Marco. There should have been somebody that kept a real, like somebody more senior in the watch business that kept him on a real tight leash and looked after the
Yeah.
money and made sure the books were okay. Because
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are accusing him. I mean, definitely his DUIs and stuff, totally unforgivable. But I wonder whether he just got over his head with the money that he owes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think one lesson that I've learned through this, a positive outcome that I see through all this happening at the expense of this guy is something that Federico brought up, right? And it's about consignment. You know what I mean? Like I guess I didn't really understand like where how the money was made on the consignment and what that all meant and how kind of like a big risk it is, especially if you don't really know somebody who you're consigning something to well, you know what I mean? So that gave me pause in the future of doing that. I've had a positive experience with consignment, but
Mm.
maybe I just got lucky with the right person, you know what I mean? And so yeah, I think that was something I learned, and other than that, it's just everything else was just complete sadness for this guy, so
Yeah,
um
the guy who I bought that Grand Seiko off, he'd actually offered to take it back on consignment. He was a watch dealer because he'd bought it from it was a consignment watch that I'd bought through him, and I
mhm,
actually spoke to him on the phone. I said, "Look, after everything that's gone on," and he said, "No, I completely understand." He says, "Actually, I consign a lot of my customers are regular customers, but he's in Canada. I mean, I've got no recourse. If I send that watch back to him, I've got no recourse.
yeah,
If it goes missing." So
yeah. Maison saying TBG had a great thing going with that Netflix style YouTube content, but business side needed to be played with a straight bat. When he mucked around going AWOL, he just
yeah,
screwed it up.
totally agree.
Latest debacle, finish him. No one will ever trust again. Yeah, I mean, good point, Maison. I mean, look, I mean, I know here in America, man, we love giving people second chances. You know what I mean? Especially if they're sincere after the first time, right? And turning a new leaf, But I mean, even though I feel incredible sadness and want this guy to get better, you can't, we as a community can't give him another chance. You know what I mean? Like it's just how many chances can you get? I mean, I don't know. He's charismatic and maybe if he gets his life straight, he can change the image around again another time, and maybe it'll work. But I mean, I
Yeah,
think he's yeah,
I agree with you, and I think obviously it turned out that he was up to nefarious means, but for quite a few years when he was just he was just posting YouTube, there was definitely, after his media blackout, there was definitely a community of people that sprung up that were dedicated to bringing him down. And know those YouTube channels that sprung up of just people streaming for hours, and it was scary. It was scary. I
mm,
not that I'm anywhere in the same league as him, but I was thinking, God, is there people that, if anybody ever made like a hate video about me, or there was entire channels that spun up with, putting his face on, like Pol Pot and Chairman Mao and all sorts of
yeah,
weird stuff. And
yeah,
that was a scare. It must have been scary for him,
yeah,
and it was certainly scary as a fellow creator that there's people that would dedicate that much time to bringing him down when at that time his only crime was that he kind of just played like a weird trick on the community. At that time there wasn't any theft or anything, or
yeah. Sam, well said about the difference between being a great salesperson and a great sales manager. Going to that point that you kind of like you brought up here. Anything you say, anything that happens in this sort of community, and it's probably not just isolated to the watch content community, but anything you say, people on the keyboards, man, they feel strong, right? When their face is not up there on YouTube, and you say something or do something, that you know, opens up door to attacks. Case in point, my experience recently, and you know a little bit about this with making a video about what Paul Thorpe had to say, you know, about Rolex investment, and then his like response to my video. Dude, I got swamped on my comments and my inbox from people just saying like the most terrible things to me. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Uh,
oh, sorry
and
about
yeah, no worries, no worries. And people saying like, you know, I'm just trying to hitch on to Paul, you know, to make a name for myself, and which I thought was funny because you know I feel like you know when this first go around with Anthony was going on, Paul was doing you know videos and streams 24/7 about it
that.
and I'm and then even recently with this latest debacle, he's been doing streams about. So like it's just people behind that keyboard because they're anonymous. They feel like they can say anything to you, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly. It's funny because Paul had reached out to me asking me for your details because he was interested in
mm,
interested in the points that you made and was going to do a video like a collab video with you. But I understand at that time it was if you'd been receiving that kind of feedback, then you might perhaps want to leave the subjects alone. But yeah, I mean, Paul wasn't. He wanted to talk. You know, he just wanted to
no,
do a
no,
collab.
and yeah,
Get
and
his
he
point across.
and
Yeah,
and I know he relayed the message to you to do like a live, but like you know after like the kind of you know the messaging and the feedback and the attacks that I was getting, I was like, you know what, this is you know if we went on a live stream together, um, you know, it's just then it's all about views, right? And like you know that's I mean, sure we do videos for views, but I mean like it's just like you know I feel like I had like a legitimate you know argument, you know, and it wasn't about just getting views. It's a topic that we all talk about all the
yeah,
time. Watches and investments, and I thought, you know, it was an interesting. I could do a counterpoint, but
yeah, yeah,
anyway, I hope that kind of stuff never happens to anybody. And that was probably what I experienced is probably just a fraction what Anthony got, just a
yeah.
fraction. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's tough for sure. Um, all right, I just had to get that off my chest. I don't know why I had to talk about that, but I
No,
just did.
no, no. I totally agree with you. And yeah, and if it turns out that I mean, because a lot of this stuff is still coming out in the wash, isn't it? I mean, we're hearing from some of the dealers that Anthony owed money to. But if he has really sold these consignment pieces, then obviously, you know, our sympathies are with those people that had their money stolen from them. We're not. I'm not trying to defend Anthony, but there was it was just like a scary. There's an interesting side of the community that I think is certainly had a lot of venom for him and for other people as well. And it sounded like, unfortunately, you received that on a video that even Paul wasn't that bothered about. That you know that he was
Yeah,
actually watched your full video. So you know, Paul's such a nice guy anyway. So
yeah,
he probably would hate to have heard that you'd got some feedback like that. So sorry that happened.
yeah. No, there's Tom says there's no point in making drama out of drama, is there? But no, absolutely, man. Like you know, I'm just gonna stick to doing reviews and
Mm.
live streams, and you know, talk about watch topics, and maybe not get into the weeds too much about the drama. But it's fun talking, and it's fun talking to you, Sam, and the chat. Sam, okay, so you have like this trilogy of videos coming out with Mike France. What else? What else do you have on the docket in the next week or two?
Yeah, so I'll release that. I'll release the Dragonfly
Mm,
GMT
awesome.
video. I'll release the trilogy of Christopher Ward ones, and then I'll see if this sells on eBay. If not, I'll do a review. Do a review of that GMT, and then yeah, I've got quite a good rhythm with Citizen now, so
Yeah,
they're send. I only get
that's
to borrow
great.
them, but they're gonna lend me another watch. So
Great brand too. Great brand.
yeah.
Well, Sam, thanks again for joining us this evening, chat. Thank you so much for joining this Friday night. Don't forget to tune in on Sunday when we have another episode of Watch Soup, Watchdog Clayton, and Watchdog Podcast Clayton, and Sam from the Engineer Wannabe channel, and I do basically analysis of some of the videos released by YouTube content creators during the week. And we also have a lot of fun doing that show. So hopefully you guys can tune in. Sam, again, thank you so much. Everybody, have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Sunday. Take care. Good night.